Hello, everyone, and blessings. Thank you for tuning in to watch this video. So, basically, in this video, I am defending my position on the debate on how to advance the Black community between W.E.B. DuBois and Booker T. Washington, two of history's most renowned Black intellectuals and scholars. So, their debate took place really over a 20-year period from like 1895 to 1915. And they, so basically, the core of the debate was, would Black advancement be mostly acquired through um, the realms of civil rights and social justice and equal justice? Or would it be through the realm of individual education in trades such as manual labor and other realms? So the research questions for this project were as follows. Question 1. Were there in fact areas of agreement that Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois could have in fact come together on? Because scholarship has tended to paint with a broad brush that they were bitterly opposed, that they were basically enemies. And the second research question that I wanted to present is where should the ideas of both Washington and Du Bois actually be adopted together for the most optimum solution? So, in my research, there was a lot of interesting stuff that I found. So, there were a few newspaper articles that I came across that are referenced in the abstract, where Booker T. Washington was actually painted with glowing terms. And there were some articles I came across that actually featured some images of him in the paper. And basically, the substance of those articles is that he was described as the leading Negro in America. He was seen as somebody who was like a Frederick Douglass-like figure for his work as president of the Tuskegee Institute and his manual labor academic sort of training that he was providing in that venture. And so that's it's quite possible that that kind of historical record is where people tend to criticize Washington as being this accommodationist and just wanting to cater to the white supremacists, which that just doesn't hold up. The With what the newspapers had to say about W.E.B. Du Bois, some of his articles were published in some of the papers that I came across, but when it came to third-hand accounts like dealing with Booker T. Washington, W.E.B. Du Bois was really only basically given like an asterisk in or a footnote in the historical record. Like there was one article I came across where he was described as winning an academic award at Harvard, but then there was a clarifying sentence, well, Du Bois is a Negro. So I found that discrepancy between Washington and Du Bois very interesting. Now, in my research that I came across of their personal writings or their like articles or autobiographies and things of that nature, there was actually a lot of agreement. In One thing was in the realm of dealing with systemic racism, actually. Um, in Booker T. Washington's biography, Up From Slavery, he actually talked about how he ran into uh, racial oppression growing up in slavery, but also in his educational pursuits. One thing that I didn't know about him is that he was actually requested to teach at a school he used to go to, and he actually taught a group of Native Americans about racial oppression that occurred for both blacks and Native Americans. So he was not against opposing racial oppression. And DuBois was at the forefront of combating systemic racial oppression. So that's an area where they would have agreed. Another central area that they agreed upon was how the black community should have economic independence. They both actually emphatically agreed on that and emphasized the importance of that. Although the manners in which that would be achieved through the realm of education and vice versa, that's where it could differ a little bit. Du Bois emphasized education for leadership and for leaders in the black community to essentially serve as inspiration to others. And Washington at the Tuskegee Institute emphasized that economic empowerment could come from manual labor training and vocational training where blacks could start their own businesses and achieve economic independence that way. But that in itself could also form as an example of leadership. So when it came to their actual writings from the first person, there were a lot of surprising areas to me that where they could have collaborated, come together, and worked as a team, maybe. The scholarship from secondary sources just talked about how they were just completely opposed, where white conservatives heralded Booker T. Washington's track record of individual success. See, you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps and, you end up like this guy. And of course, so that was basically, a dream for white conservatives. Um, and then on the other side, with W.E.B. Du Bois, he's been heralded by the white liberal left with scholarship, just with his pioneering work in sociology and addressing systemic racism. But honestly, the conclusion shows that with the answer to the first question is that they honestly, there was a lot of areas where they could have come together, and so their personal writings actually showed a lot of agreement. And secondly, um, the solution is in fact to pursue the routes of both Washington and Du Bois' ideas, because when you bring them together, that creates the most optimum solutions for the black community to achieve economic independence and advance socially, politically, and everything in that category to advance in general as a community above the tides of racial oppression and the after effects of slavery. So that's that was that's my project. So I hope you all find it interesting, and I can't wait to hear from you all. So thank you for watching, and God bless you all.